2013. We're going to take a look at the markets in just a second, but before we do that, our usual PowerPoint explaining also, of course, the risk disclaimer that we have to go through. So just bear with me 1 second where we go through those terms and conditions. Please be aware that trading foreign exchange and global financial markets in general is considered high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. And this video and webinar is for educational purposes only. So thank you for your attention on that. I just want to, in the meantime, quickly check if you can hear me first of all and can see me so that we have all systems green. If you could write a Y or yes, that would be perfect. In the meantime, I'll just assume that you can hear me and continue with this PowerPoint explaining that we'll be taking a look at the markets today and another time tomorrow. Next week we will have a full week again, but the first week of August we will have, I think, not a session. First week of August we won't have any sessions, I think, because I'll be moving. So, but next week for sure we'll have our usual sessions. We'll be taking a look at my account, breakout strategy especially. What is a breakout? It is a move of the currency outside of this black box or black boxes that indicate consolidation and sideways moves. And when the currency breaks through those levels, those support or resistance levels, it's breaking out. Make sure to follow Admiral Markets on social media, Facebook and Twitter. And with that said, let's take a look at the Forex calendar to see if there's anything substantial going on today. We do have some news, but before I do that, I really want to get a confirmation that you can hear me first of all, because I still didn't get any reply on that. So I'll just wait for that, otherwise no idea. Okay, great, thanks for that. Perfect. So you can indeed hear me. Let's move on. We have again a pound news event, 1 hour 42 minutes from now. Hope that the market doesn't quiet down too much because of that, but we can take a look at swing trades. That would be maybe more appropriate in that case, but we'll definitely take a look at the pound and euro too and see what happened yesterday as well. Later on, we do have a lot of news in the sense that Fed Chairman Bernanke will be testifying apparently, and we also have a CAD interest rate announcement, plus report, plus press conference. So those are definitely some things that could move the market. And of course, our usual medium and light impact news. All right, let's go to our Admiral broker station right here. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so on my list today are the Aussie yen, Euro odd, maybe odd New Zealand. Those seem to me the most interesting at the moment. The odd USD, of course, the dollar yen, Euro odd, and odd New Zealand maybe, and Euro New Zealand, maybe pound yen. I didn't have any clear-cut favorites. I just had a short list there with potential favorites, but let's review the market together and see if we can narrow that down to something and find maybe an entry. All right, so the euro dollar did make, by the way, that upside we were talking about yesterday. We were looking for upside in the London session. That didn't happen. Remember, we had 2-3 hours of downside, but eventually I said how long, eventually this did move up. I'm getting all confused with these T's and D's. As expected. Remember, I was saying that any move down will bump into support most likely. Just a question where and when. So that's what happened right in here. And let's see how that looks on the 5-minute world. So we were trying to catch it here, but eventually it turned right in here for a very big up move. I hope that the analysis helped you because it did move up 120 pips. So definitely a big up day. I hope you managed to catch those pips and trade later, just a bit later in the session. Actually, after the German ZEW news announcement was released, euro dollar went a bit down, just a few pips spike down, and then up the currency went after that. So the analysis was spot on. I hope you managed to do something with that as well. At the moment, we're kind of retracing a bit. I would say the analysis is still the same. We're still looking for a break of this at top. But of course, we're getting close to that top, which means that we're getting closer to resistance as well. Space is a bit closer, a bit tighter in a way. So we could still make a retrace and then bounce, for example, here. That's always possible. So the yesterday was a bit better maybe in that regard. Let's take a look at the day chart. Day chart, definitely a very nice bullish candle. So what could always happen is a retrace of yesterday's candle where we find support close to yesterday's low and then up again. Makes it a bit more trickier to trade as well. Let's take a look at the view on this chart. You can see light green on the 1 hour chart. It's retracing. You see that? This part here. After an impulsive move up. That's exactly also the area where we were trading it. Here, this light green area. Trying to catch the dark green, right? So that worked out fine. Today, we could still move back to these three amigos right in here. So I would say if we fib the last move up from here to here, the 50 or 618 are definitely bouncing areas. The 382 even could be the bouncing spot to the target and double top for the moment. Probably break that top, as I said, but that would be the first target. So yeah, any of these fibs basically, but the stop loss is way below here if you use that fib, right? So in that regard, maybe catching it when it bounces off the 50 or 618 with a tighter stop loss using, for example, candlestick pattern might make sense because we're reducing the risk in terms of pip size. If you use the fib, then the safest stop loss is always under the swing low, which is, yeah, it's not the smallest stop, let me say it this way. So that's quite a substantial risk. So there's two options. Take the trade right now with a big stop loss, or wait, hope for a bigger retrace to the downside, to the 50 or 618, try to catch a bounce in that area for that trade to the upside. So that's something we can take a look at today. That's how it looks like in the 50-minute world. The 50 fib is always sweet. That could be the bouncing spot. So that's quite close. Don't mind you that that's really nothing. It's just 20 pips lower from current price. So it's really around the corner. It's definitely something that could happen in our session. So let's keep an eye on that, I would say. Any questions on this? About the game plan on the euro? Does that make sense, or do you see it differently? I remember someone was looking to sell it at 131.20, but that's why I definitely discouraged that, or tried to, because look at that, went all the way to 131.75. It's, you know, when you're trading with the trend like this, with a big power, I mean, this up move is just a massive power, right? You don't see daily candles with 450 pips within a few hours very often. It's really a unique event. So trading against that is very risky, right? You want to trade with that power. But you want to seek the good spots, realistic spots with tight but realistic stop losses too. I don't see any comments so far, so I guess either everyone is agreeing with me, which is good, or maybe looking at other currencies. So if you have another currency in mind, let me know. We'll take a look at that. I have a certain, preference in my mind, so we'll go look at that. But if you have something you want to look at, just let me know, okay? Or if you want to still comment on the euro dollar, please do so. But I'll move on because I see that no one has responded so far. So let's move to the pound dollar. Pound was quite wacky because of the 70 pip fall after the pound news release yesterday. Then we kind of made a wedge. All right, you see that wedge here on the 50-minute world? Broke out of that wedge to the upside, of course. Now making a pretty steep and deep retracement. Just, well, not like the euro actually. Euro is making a shallow retracement so far, but definitely deeper than the euro. If you would fib the last move up here, we're already at the 618 fib. Is that a valid fib? It is a valid question because the pound is kind of looking funky how it moves up. I mean, it's not looking that impulsively. We did break the top already here, made 3 waves down, right in here. 3 waves down, found support, but the move up is kind of looking corrective. So I don't trust this fib entirely. We could definitely bounce at the 618, but it's not that great. If we look at our statistical averages, maybe you'll find that interesting. On the 1-hour chart, you can see that any down move will bump into a real, like almost like an oversold position, right? Between 150.50 and 150.80. If we were to go down that deep, that could be an interesting, interesting for us because that would maybe be a good moment to attempt a long. So let's keep an eye on that. If we look at the 4-hour chart, we're basically about halfway on the lower side of the statistical average, but the average is pointing to the upside, which means that any downside, is likely going to bump its support for when we move up, I would say, looking at this 4-hour chart. If we look at the 50-minute chart, you can see that the statistical band is pointing downwards, showing some downside pressure, isn't it, on the 50-minute world when looking at these statistical averages. So, here, maybe one more downside to that 786, 886 area at 150.70, 150.60 could be possible. Let's take a look at our London Open trade quickly. Probably already got broken there, indeed. But what we can do is take a look at the Asian low and Asian high. Let's see, how big is that level? 151.35. This is 750. All right. So if 151.07 was the Asian low, 28 pips, that's common. Lower than 30 as usual. So we got 2 breaks ever since then. 2 breaks of the Asian low ever since. Interesting. All right. Well, yeah, this itself could be already the bounce at 618 or a bit lower. That would be even less risk. That would be even better in a way. Not sure if we'll get that low though. That's the question. Let's keep an eye on this 5-minute chart just for the next 30 seconds. Then the 5-minute and 1-hour candles close on the pound dollar, and take a look how the candles close for this GU. Okay, 1 second. Then take a look if there's something to trade right now. I want to see who remains in control in this last candle. So in the last 5-minute candle, I had a bit of a wick at the top. So the bulls couldn't remain in control. It's a very small time frame, I know. 1-hour chart. Pretty bearish candle. Well, yeah, it's iffy. I mean, the 618 could be the bouncing spot, but looking at price action, definitely moving down. So, I think there's no rush. We can see if we get more downside to a lower support area. which would be even better. And we can monitor the 1 hour chart here the next hour to see if we get a bounce right at the 618. All right, so and the lower time frame. So I don't think there's any rush right now. This itself could be the bouncing area, the 618, but I rather wait and see for the moment, personally. What do you think? Do you agree? I don't think there's any rush, especially not with bearish price action. It takes time for currency to switch gears to the upside again, I think. And even if we have bullish engulfing candles, then we can look for a retracement of that and take it to the upside. Otherwise, we could still see that one more push down. Why do I think the pound dollar will go up? Well, looking at basically I'm looking at the power of the market here on the left. And it's true that the top already got broken here of 151, 152. So it did get broken right in here. So, the minimum requirement has been met. On contrary to the euro, which hasn't broken the top yet, I'm still expecting that top to be broken. The GU has had that already. If you get a real big impulse like that, the likelihood of the top being broken is so high. So that's one thing. That's not valid on here though, but on the euro still. It was here until we broke the top. I still think though that if you look at the entire structure, it still looks like a very powerful impulse. This still looks like a correction to me. And the likelihood of continuation, I think, is pretty decent. It's not a guarantee, but it's decent. So that's another thing. And if you look at the statistical bands, they're also showing that potential. So usually something of a big impulse like that usually has at least one follow-through. So those are my two main reasons, I would say. Let's see, one more question, folks. How do you define for the day move in relationship with Asia? Does it mean if in Asia it went down that it will go up that day or opposite? Alexander, no, it doesn't mean that. The only thing I'm trying to read is where the zone is of the Asian session, how many times we broke that zone. And normally if we break a level, then if we break it by a certain amount of pips, like 8 pips, you often enough get a reversal for at least a short while, or maybe a total reversal. I'm just trying to see that's a very complicated question because we had a whole webinar on that actually. So the best would be to look at that webinar. It's called GU Characteristics, and it will explain more on that as well. Okay. Alrighty. Let's keep an eye on this one and the euro dollar here. Even if you look at, just to answer Adrian's question a bit longer, if you look at the day chart, for example, you can see that even though that the day chart is in a downtrend, a three-wave correction like this would fit in quite logically, I think, at the moment, with this downside. Still doesn't change anything. All right, but I would definitely change my opinion if we start to break below these levels, like this, especially these support levels. If we break below that, then there is a chance we're just back in the downtrend, and this was just a correction. That was the end of the correction, and we're going to make downside from here. Right? That's definitely possible. That's why the fib to the upside is a bit iffy, just in case that this were to be the retracement, and this is already downside, down, and this is the retracement, and we're continuing down. But for me, that the key level for that would be these 4-hour supports, or if we can break above, for example, yesterday's 4-hour high resistance, maybe these levels here. That would give indication which side is more likely. The euro is a bit more clear, in my opinion. It still has to break the top. Otherwise, if we look at the wave count, you can do the wave count pretty easily on these Heikin Ashi candles. You can see that this potentially is a let's see, wave, yeah, either a corrective wave A for B here, and this is C, or this is indeed maybe a wave 4 or whatever, and we're continuing down. That's always. This is a pretty strong AO reading here, so it still leads me to believe that this is more likely, but I'm realistic enough to know that these things can definitely be wrong, and I want to have certain levels in mind that would invalidate my own primary analysis, and I start to switch gears to the other side, because otherwise, if you don't have that level, you don't want to stick to that scenario for forever and ever and ever, and in the meantime, the pound is at 142, if you know what I mean. Right? So let's move on to some other currencies. I was interested in the Aussie. The Aussie is finding resistance here. So pretty interesting talking spot. Are we going to bounce off this trend line here to the upside again, to double top maybe? Or are we going to break that trend line for downside? So that's one of the reasons why I was interested in Aussie dollar. If you look at the most recent price action, this is more and more starting to look like the end of a bigger trend. And I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe find finally a wave 4 here, a bigger correction for, after that, one more downside, maybe to the mid-80s. So Aussie is definitely, in an interesting spot where the currency could correct a bit higher, in my opinion. But it's always difficult, to predict when a currency could finally be correcting in a bigger fashion than what have you seen so far. Look at the Aussie here, wave 1, 2. This has been a massive wave 3 so far, right? With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and within 5 we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe. So you can see we've had a fifth wave in the fifth wave of the third wave. 5, 5 of 3, which leaves red 4 and red 5 left. Maybe. So that's why, because of the fifth of the fifth, you can see that the price is slowing down. Do you see that? That's because of the last waves going down. So we could see the bigger correction and then down for one more wave. Not that difficult, is it? People that wave counting is difficult. If you're in a trend, it's not that important because you just ride it to the downside. The only thing you have to be careful of is when does it end. It's not that difficult. It really isn't, especially if you use the oscillator. We'll dive into that tomorrow, by the way, on the 18th of July. We have a webinar with Tarantula at 6 p.m. Central European Eastern Time, right? So Let's see, any questions? Bogdan, definitely saw your email. I'll definitely write back, no problem. Might not be today, but definitely by the end of the week, for sure. So that's the Aussie. What I'm looking for is basically either a break. I'll tell you what I'm looking for. Either a break of this trend line here. That would indicate continuation to 886 and double top. Maybe a bounce off this level, or a bounce, break, hook back, and downside. So there are a lot of options, 2 upside, 1 downside here. Let's keep an eye on this one. The other one I had in mind was the dollar yen. Let's take a look at that. Dollar yen is moving downside here. Broke out of this trend line. Went back to the moving averages, bounce off there. Back at resistance. All right, look at back at the moving average here. Back at the statistical oversold level, which are the statistical averages, right? So that's your answer right away, Bogdan. Statistical averages. And let's see, if we get a rejection here at this level, which it's a bit of a mix on this dollar yen in a way, because it is kind of wedgie-like as well. If we put trend lines at the bottom and top like that, you can see kind of a wedge. So the wedge could break in, to the both sides in a way, in a manner. This is the day chart. You can clearly see we could easily either fall here or maybe continue like this. So it depends. It really is, both sides are really in play, in my opinion. It doesn't happen to me too often. Most of the time I try to define the trend and I'm only trading with one side of the market. This case, I could see really valid cases for both sides. However, at the moment, because it's moving up, I see more resistance closer by than, if we were moving down, I would see maybe support close by, but moving up, which means we're getting close to resistance. Just looking at this 4-hour world, it is a bit of a mix. Let's see. Pretty big impulse here. I'm starting to doubt. It was on my short list. I'm not sure now at the moment. I might take it off. Maybe because it's moving to the upside right now, what I could do and probably will do is put a trend line here, and if we break below that level again, then I would attempt maybe a short. So it's something, not necessarily would take it right here, but if we break back below that blue line, I'll make it a bit different. I'll make it pink. If we break below that pink, that could be in a short would consider. I'd probably take that one. So let's move on to something else. Let's take a look at the Euro odd. That was also on my wish list. The Euro odd, I'm in a long already actually. And I was trying to see if I want to add on to that trade. I took it based on the fact that we could bounce. We went sideways basically here for very long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles. 4 candles, we couldn't break the bottom. I was kind of taking a long in anticipation that we wouldn't break that 4-hour low. So I wanted to see if we can add something here. That's the time factor, right? We talked about many times in this webinar as well. So we did get a continuation here, breaking above, making higher highs and higher lows in the meantime. So now, yeah, just trying to see, it already moved away from that area. Because if you look at this 50-minute chart, basically the top, the resistance level was right in here. We kind of broke, hooked back, and continued. So that trade idea has left the station, right? Has gone. But I'm just trying to see if we can trade it differently. Doesn't mean that that's the only way to trade it. We could, for example, use this trend line, right, and see we're right at it. All right. So if we pause here, get a fractal, we can take the next break of this trend line as well. All right. My original idea was to take this break right in here. But now that we already have that, we can wait for respect to that trend line and then take the next break, maybe on the 0 odd to the upside here. So anyhow, we still need to wait 13 minutes, no, almost a half an hour for the 0 odd to find that resistance spot. We need a fractal, which means we need 2 candles to the right. We just started this candle 2 minutes ago, which means that we got 28 minutes left before that criteria would be met. So we still have plenty of time. We'll come back to the euro odd at 9:45 my time. Let's see what else is on the list. So the dollar, yen, Aussie, and euro odd at the moment. Stuff I'm keeping an eye on. Plus the euro, of course. Let's see what the pound is doing. Pound is moving towards that 786. Now, mind you, if we do break this bottom here at 150.40, Adrian could be totally right, and this up move, although it's very powerful, is just a correction on its own, and that's possible. It could be maybe, to me it looks still more like a 5-wave, but who knows. Maybe this is a different sequence than I think. Any of these fibs, though, are still definitely areas you want to be careful of, just in case we do bounce off that. Alrighty, let's keep an eye on this one. See if we can make that fall to the 786. Looks like we're breaking through the 618 right now, as we speak, or just a few minutes ago. So that's why it's good we were careful with the 618. Doesn't have to bounce there necessarily, does it? As we can see. Let's move on to something else. To maybe the pound New Zealand. Pound New Zealand right at this resistance line. Interesting. I don't know, just nothing catches my eye here. I had it on my list of secondary options, but nothing catches my eye except maybe the fact that we did break. If you look at this trend line, has 3 hits, and we broke out of this uptrend line. So maybe we're back in the downtrend here, making lower lows, lower highs. So any move up could encounter resistance. So maybe any move up to, for example, this level, or maybe this fib here, 618 at around, what is it, 192.50, 60 could be a resistance spot. Guess that's maybe why it was on my secondary list. Otherwise, I don't see anything. That could be the reason. Let's take a look at New Zealand. So New Zealand, quite funny because it's right back at a critical resistance level, which means that we're either breaking through it right as we speak, or we're right at the trend line, I should say, or are we correcting, and if we break this lower trend line, maybe we'll be moving to the downside here. Definitely at a talking spot. Interesting place for the Aussie New Zealand. It has been in a massive downtrend, of course. We know that already a long time. And the question is it going to continue in that downtrend, or are we going to see a bigger retrace to the upside? The downside is with the trend. The upside is a bit riskier, but both could have potential here. Okay. I don't see, yeah, maybe how to trade it is another story. A break of these tops or bottoms, tops could be interesting because then we're breaking back in a way basically outside of that bigger downtrend line. The downside is a bit complicated because we have a trend line that's a bit lower, so that means that we have to move down, hit the trend line, bounce off it, break again. So we need a bounce break continuation there, right? Like that. I don't know. It's possible. I'll keep an eye on it. And also, probably that's why it's on my secondary list. It's the reason why I probably don't like it is just because the downside, which is with the trend, isn't ready yet, and the upside could be ready, but it is a bit difficult trade in the sense that it's a very shallow trend line. It's a very big trend line, 4-hour chart. It's not the easiest of trades to catch to that direction when it's just breaking out of a massive, when it basically is a massive downtrend, and this is the first break to the upside. It's quite difficult. All right. Let's see. Maybe I have the Euro, New Zealand, and Pound Odd as well on my list. Let me check why. Pound Odd is difficult. I don't know. Wouldn't want to touch it too. Euro Odd looks a bit better. I mean, definitely at a spot that it could fall maybe one more time to bigger support levels in here, or it could easily retrace, then fall again. Sorry, the other way around. Green, red. If you look at the 1-hour chart, it looks like a bear flag here. Tricky. Let me see if the Euro New Zealand is a bit better. We had a break of that trend line here. I had that on my chart, this trend line. It was a passive break. It was a break during Asian session where the prices go sideways. So that's a passive break. It's not an active break. Price doesn't actively go through it. It's just a time pushes the currency to the side. So that break is behind us. But we could maybe catch a pullback or continuation here. Let's see. I wouldn't take the pullback because it's a bit riskier. It could we move up for one more correction down, but if we get a continuation, maybe that could be interesting. I mean, we just broke out of this on the 1 hour chart. It's clear we broke out of that trend line, right? So break, pullback, continuation could be interesting here. Let's keep an eye on this one. The thing we would need is a lower, higher low here and a break of that. That would be the risk, and then try to take it to the top here. It's not a great reward to risk. Probably what will happen is we'll get a lower high here as well, maybe, and that could reduce the risk if we get that lower high here. Higher low here would reduce the risk. I do like this bounce and break, or the break here. It does look good. So see how we can catch it maybe a bit later on. That's the Euro New Zealand. So we take a look. Yeah, that definitely would add to the list. So that's odd dollar, Euro odd New Zealand. No, Euro odd dollar, Euro New Zealand, dollar yen. At the moment, okay. Let's see if there's anything else. Maybe the pound yen. It has a pretty nice trend line like this, but we're actually pushing to the upside. So maybe the pound is moving to the upside at the moment, or is it the yen doing that? Pound is moving up a bit. Probably the yen is really pushing it. Yes. So the pound yen trend line is out of play. You're looking pretty interesting. We're back at the zero line, by the way, on the 4 hour chart. Yeah, we have to be careful of the pound. Indeed, that's a good observation, Adrian. We have to be very careful. Probably, for sure, half an hour before that news event, but even now, probably doesn't make sense to trade a pound already. Indeed. What's good, we have the Aussie in mind, the dollar yen, Euro odd, Euro New Zealand, Euro dollar, but the pound yen and the pound dollar, pound odd, pound New Zealand, those are very risky indeed now, definitely. It's not an interest rate, by the way. It's claim and count change, okay? And meeting minutes, but they're also very important, absolutely. The interest rate is a different day. We have CAD interest rate, indeed, later on today. Oh, good observation there. Thanks, Adrian. Let's see. We're back at the zero line I was saying on the Euro odd. So that could be an indication that when we, for example, get the next fractal and we break that fractal, so for example like this, if we move up, find resistance there, then move down, and then break that fractal, that would be an AO intra-week 4-hour strategy. Okay. For those of you who missed that, there's a webinar in intra-week for swing strategies, 4-hour chart strategies. This one was mentioned as well. So this one is, I think, setting up on the Euro odd. I'll go through them. I have a list of them that could potentially be ready for that on the 4-hour chart. Okay, just go through that quickly. For those who are, is anyone interested? I hope so. Euro odd is a good strategy. Pound CAD. Let's see. Do I have the pound CAD here? Not sure. I think I still have to add it. There it is. Pound CAD is also back to the zero line, the AO. Here too, a break of the 4-hour support could be a reason for a good downtrade. One thing I wanted to show you on this pound CAD, just out of, because I had to think about it, take a look at this chart. It's the monthly chart. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's really, really wacky, isn't it? But I mean, why? Let me explain you why. Look at this massive downside from 260 all the way to 145. Sorry. And now, look what happened ever since. It's just gone in a range for over 3 years, in a very tight consolidation of 1,500 pips, which is really nothing compared to the 10,000 pip fall. You see that? Funny, isn't it? Look at these massive ups and downs as well. Really massive movements and such a quietness on the pound CAD the last 3 years. Very funny. Anyhow, it's not our trading environment that we usually look at, but I saw that and I thought I had to share that with you because I had to think about it right now because that was really something different. So pound CAD also qualifies here. Euro odd, what else? Odd yen I have on the list. That key support level is these 4-hour here. All right, that's 2 Aussie yen. I want to show you every one of them, but the other ones are, I think, Aussie New Zealand. 4-hour chart. That 2 is back to the zero line, but iffy maybe. Pound odd. 4-hour chart here is back to the zero line as well. And pound New Zealand. These are all potential. None of them are, I think, really set up as we speak, except maybe the pound CAD, I think, or the euro odd. Let me check. Well, not sure about that. No, not. Maybe it was the odd yen, right? Was ready, or pound CAD. Anyhow, many of them are close to getting ready. Okay, just in case you're interested in that swing strategy on the 4-hour chart. It's very highly accurate, as you know. It's close to 80% accurate with a 1-to-1 target. It's between 65, 70% accurate with a 2-to-1. So good rate of return there on that 4-hour strategy. It does require a lot of patience for those setups to emerge and to get ready and to take the profit, but it's very profitable and not so stressful. Alrighty, that's that. Let's take a look at a euro again. right, euro odd is pushing. It's a bit earlier than I was hoping for, actually. Um, let's see if we can break here. I was hoping for, as I said, two 50-minute candles to be to the side here. If it breaks earlier than that, then there's a fractal. It's still a 5-minute fractal. Probably wait for the 50-minute world. I like that a bit more. Let's see. Keep a close eye on it though. Alrighty, our Aussie is still moving to the downside. A break of that upper trend, blue trend line would be great. We're looking for that counter trend, but counter trend trade, but still within reason, I think, in my opinion, because of bigger reasons like divergence and potentially wave 4. Just keep an eye on the dollar yen as well. We have that on the wish list too. We're still moving to the upside. So euro odd is pushing. Let's see. 142.84. Yeah, we broke that high now. Yeah, it's possible. Was hoping for the 50-minute world to settle in here a bit longer, probably. Then take the break of this pink line after the 50-minute world pauses here. That's probably not going to happen now. Probably. Still contemplating, taking this trade or not. I'd rather wait and see. If it does shoot up from here, then tough luck. I'm still in the trade anyhow from an earlier break to the upside here, as you know. So I'd rather wait maybe for a bit of a retracement here. I don't know. The risk is not that bad. It's 25 pips. What do you think? Anyone have a particular opinion to take this 5-minute break, or were you waiting for the 15-minute world as well, just like me? Let me know what you think. We can discuss it together. I'm still in doubt. Looks like we're pushing though. It's tricky. No. I was hoping actually for one more push down here. as you know. Doesn't look like it's doing that right now, isn't it? Okay, Adrian. Yeah. Well, that's one reason, if your broker has high spreads, you can definitely think about coming to Admiral Markets because the spread here is only really 1 pip and sometimes 1.2 or something like that, 1.4. It's very small. I think the spread on the euro odd is often smaller than the spread on the euro dollar with other brokers, so definitely worth it. Take a look at that. You can trade micros here as well. Used to be only minis, but looks like you can trade micros as well nowadays. That's great. Oof, 8 pips. Well, yeah. Well, this is an Admiral Market Pro account, of course, but you can get a Pro account as little as $1,000 if you open an account with 1,000 or more. Can you open $1,000 account? I mean, I would not pay 8 pips. I would not want to miss trading the Euro Aussie, and definitely not want to trade it with 8 pips. That's ridiculous. Well, it's maybe not ridiculous, but especially if you compare it to what you can trade it here, it does become a bit ridiculous in the sense that the difference is so much. Commission is, well, let's see. That was yesterday. I took a mini on the euro dollar, for example, right? And on that mini was 40 cents. So let's see. It's not that much. Yeah, indeed. Yes, indeed, Adrian. Exactly. Definitely, I would definitely recommend it. I mean, I don't think that $4 for one lot is, it's like, what is it, half a pip, I guess, depending on which currency you're looking at. Definitely not much. So let me just quickly or retrace my thoughts here. Aussie dollar, I'm looking for either a bounce off this trend line, the lower one, a break of the higher one, or break or bounce of the lower one, or break of the higher one. All right, so break of the light blue one, or a break bounce of the darker blue one. That's the Aussie. Euro seems to be pushing as we speak. It's always a risk that you don't get to the 50 fib. I was hoping we can get there, but it looks like the buyers are stepping in as we speak. Yeah. Well, let's see. Not that convinced yet, but could be the bouncing spot for upside. to break the 132 top. Let's see. I'm not willing to trade it right here. I'm waiting for a deeper retracement, or either that or probably nothing, because unless it really makes an impulse, good move up, make some hook back, then a continuation. Maybe that. Maybe. Otherwise, it will be difficult. I don't know. Kind of iffy so far, at least. Keep an eye on it, but I would rather have it a bit deeper. New Zealand, just like the Aussie, could be at a bouncing spot. Let's take a look at something else. Just want to keep an eye on these. Your odd is moving a bit down now. Let's keep an eye on this one. Retracement of that move down back into support could be maybe a good bouncing area. Could. I mean, we're still tied in and locked against that trend line. But anything else? Let's take a look at this pound odd as well. Potential spot to bounce, but as soon as it bounces, it does face resistance, just like the pound is in. That's what makes these two a bit tricky to trade, in my opinion. That's about it, I guess. Let's see. Let me take a look at my list again. I have pound dollar, euro odd New Zealand, euro New Zealand, odd dollar, dollar yen New Zealand. Yeah, we discussed really everything that I had in mind. That was pretty fast, faster than normal. Do you have anything in particular you want to evaluate if you find interesting to trade? Is there something you're doubting to trade right now? Thinking about trading? Would be nice to grab a trade together. I don't see anything materializing that I really like at the moment to trade, but maybe you see something that I haven't seen. The euro yen, okay, cool. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, it did move up a lot, indeed, just looking at recent price action. But the euro yen really moves a lot, even if it's in a sideways range. Look at this. I mean, it's right on this chart, a 1 hour chart, moved up 300 pips here, or smaller moves of 200, 150 down, 150 up. It's just wow, it's just like the pound yen, isn't it? It's just a crazy mover. You really need to trade a 5-minute chart on this one to have a decent stop loss size that isn't too big. But trying to analyze here on different time frames where we're at, just to confirm. I've looked at this before, of course, but just wanted to review some stuff here. The euro yen definitely breaking through that correction, and also this correction already a while back. There was that one major resistance level at 131.09 or 131.10 that still was left, in my opinion, of a major importance. If we break that level, then maybe things are turning even more bullish. I mean, of course, we already broke those two light blue trend lines that I have there on the chart. I'll make this lower one dark blue. All right, so we already broke those two lighter blue ones. That on him. I was already showing some signal of bullishness, just very took long to materialize. Now we're actually breaking through the resistance line. Wouldn't want to buy right at the resistance line, but interesting fact though that we're breaking through it indeed. Let's see. Yep, we pushed through it. But it's still within 10 pips. So I wouldn't say the resistance has been broken yet. The problem with that is that the 5-minute world doesn't even have a close above that level, which anything within 15 to 20 pips could still be double top and stuff like that. So wouldn't say that it broke it, but it is definitely breaking as we speak. But there's no way I trade a huge break like that. I have nothing in my strategy portfolio that would allow me to take a trade like that right here. The only thing I can think of is that if it breaks, hopefully it breaks a bit more, then the resistance would be considered taken out, and if it then hooks back like this, I can take the next one to the upside. Right here, right now, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't see any way how to trade it. It's moved already too much. Maybe only the 1-minute world somehow. Like a scalp, one more scalp to the upside, but otherwise. Interesting factor. I hope it does push through. That would be interesting for me because then the bigger uptrend could be in play. So I would actually like that. Alrighty, cool. Good to look at the EJ. Pound yen is moving up too, despite the good downtrend line, that dark blue line there. So if you look at pound Swissie, we didn't look at that. Of course, we broke. This was a massive sideways range, wasn't it? Range traders had a field day. Range traders had a great day with this sideways box here, and that was just heaven for them. There was this channel in a way going down too, right? Earlier, put back that channel on. Broke out of that channel, went into the sideways range, then finally broke to the downside. Really took massive amount of time before the decision was made, but now finally moving to the downside. That was really a massive range. Interesting. So you can see any move up would encounter resistance at these bottoms here. All right, something like that. Let's see if that happens. Pound Swissie. All right. So that's I guess we looked almost at all technical analysis currencies right now. Maybe it's prudent to say a few things regarding summertime. We are now definitely reaching the midst of the summer. I would say the first 2 weeks of August are the slowest probably, in my experience. I don't have statistics for that, but so be careful with that. That this could be, we've had actually quite big movement so far, but it could slow down a bit. maybe next week and first week of August. As I said, I won't have any webinars the first week of August because I'll be taking a week off as well. That's, for me, the best moment to do so. Otherwise, I wanted to ask you, how's your trading been going this month so far? Anyone want to share how they've been doing? Anything you want to ask me regarding that? Some advice maybe? Please feel free to do so right now. All right. I think that in general, from a from a perspective of trade development, is it true? Do you think that it's true that waiting for a trade to develop is a tough thing to do? I was talking to a student, a mentoring student of mine, and she has a bit of a difficulty waiting for trade setups and the tendency to take a trade fast because she wants to trade. She wants to trade now, or not now, but soon. And it's difficult. And when she's in the trade, then she's get nervous, quite quickly nervous of the trade, and she sees all the faults it had, and then tries to get out. And I was thinking that this could be quite common for many traders. I don't know if it's you. Hopefully not. You can see that our job is not pushing a button. Our job is to decide when and where is the best place to risk our money. We could risk our money at any point in time if we wanted to. It can go up, it can go down. We could, if we use good money management, we probably wouldn't do that bad either. Maybe. It wouldn't be great either because we don't have any strategy. So we need all these components. We need risk management, money management, a good trading psychology, and a good trading strategy portfolio to enhance our probabilities of success, right? And trading psychology is definitely one of them. Anyone recognize that story? Maybe it's not applicable for you, which is great. I applaud that then. So I got some comments here. Adrian, thanks for sharing that. That's okay. Doesn't sound too bad. Personally, I measure it in terms of like reward and potential risk of return, rate of return. I'm not a big fan of measuring in pips because I could have, in theory, even minus pips in a session, day, or week, and you could still make money. In fact, so I'm more in favor of counting it differently, but no problem. I know that's very common, and glad that you're sharing there. It seems to be small, so I'm sure you can catch that up. No problem. I hope. Looks good anyhow. Okay, cool. I meant more like that in relationship to your account size. So what I normally do is the amount I win or lose, and then divide it by my total trading capital. That's my normal method of measuring that, but that's okay. I understand. It's not. It's relatively small, so that's good. Okay. Thanks, Adrian. Yes, I understand, Adrian. Okay, cool. That's okay. If I may share that percentage, I don't think you would mind. It's minus 1% is very small. It's definitely very good. Nothing major lost there, right? So you got all the month left to still recover that. Great. Let's see. Adrian is mentioning that the problem is how much to wait for retracement, not to enter too early. Yeah. Okay. The entry is normally indeed the main focus of most traders. I wouldn't say that is the main main importance. I think that take profits and trade management are even more important, but I know that most people do focus on entries. I can understand that indeed. It is logical because that is the moment that we decide to take the risk, so it's always quite a critical point in time. How you can maybe measure that is a good entry means a small stop loss. Okay, I understand. Well, what you could do is that, I don't know which time frame you're using, but if you're using a certain time frame, you can zoom in maybe and see if there are any signs of resistance, support, rejection. Or you already used 5 and 50 minute? Okay. Well, in that case, then it's difficult to. What I wanted to suggest was that to zoom in the time frame to take a look there if you have any divergence as well, anything that could say that the move could be, the correction, for example, could be ready. For example, if you're in a downside, you make a upside like this, somewhere in here you're looking for a short. If you would zoom in, maybe you could establish that moment a bit earlier. But if you're really looking at 5 and 15, then it doesn't make sense to look to the 1 minute chart, of course. You could maybe, but it's more riskier. You'd have to really know what you're doing. I mean, really have more experience about that. Well, what you could do, I don't know, if you take breakout fractals, what you could do is, instead of the breakout fractal, like the euro odd here, maybe hope for a retracement of this last move, for example. And although it's not much, we did get a 382, for example. I didn't take it myself, as you realize, but that's one way of, in theory, maybe reducing that. The 382 is just a tad lower than actually the breakout level or breakout entry, anyhow. But so basically, that's what you could do instead of taking the breakout itself, waiting for the breakout and a retracement, for example. Maybe. I don't know, it depends how you trade. It's difficult to answer that. So in the meantime, the euro dollar, thanks for sharing, everyone. Oh wait, I had one more question actually from Vitatis. Yes, I do, Vitatis, but it's in a group. It's in a group project. Not real fully individually, because my time would be too scarcely thinned out to do that, to be honest. So it's more like in a group. I do have sometimes one-to-one calls, but it's like I just have a max time limit of how much I do that for a week. Otherwise, I would be too swamped. If you want, you can send me an email. I can send you more information on that, okay? Let's see. Euro dollar. I'm going to make a roundup now. Got 10 minutes left. See what's happening, okay? Let's see. Euro dollar, pretty bullish 1 hour candle. I was definitely a fan of that upside, a big fan, as you know, yesterday. I still am, but it's just, I'm just analyzing if this is the best spot. I don't know. It is a pretty good 1 hour bullish candle off the 382. That could be all we need for continuation. Who knows? But there is somehow I have some hesitance about that. I don't know why, but probably it's unneeded and not necessary to think that. But somehow I have that. I don't know why. Do you have that too? No idea why. But 1 hour GU pretty bullish as well. This could be a trace of last hour's candle. Could see an up move here. I like the euro a bit more than the pound though. If it were to fall to the 78886 area, then that could be an interesting support level. Let's see if it gets that low or not. Aussie, if it were to break above this light blue line, I'm interested. Just like the New Zealand. Probably Aussie is a bit better. Dollar yen, if it were to break below this red trend line, I'm interested. Pound yen below this blue line. Our CAD is pushing as we speak above this daily corrective. Pound says if we were make an upside back to resistance, that would be interesting to sell. Dollar CAD, if we were to make a move up back to resistance, or we're already in resistance zone actually, that could be an interesting move to the downside here. Maybe a break of this trend line could signal that fall. Euro odd, I was interested in this break, but somehow I'm afraid that this trade is slipping by me. As I was planning this on the 50-minute world. It's a shame. Maybe should have taken the 5-minute entry there. Probably hesitated a bit too long for that. We should have taken it here at double bottom on the 1-minute chart, close to the 55th. That would have been probably not a bad idea. Next time. Moved away from here. Yeah. We'll try to focus on one currency more next time. Let's see, Euro New Zealand is already pushing after the break of this trend line. Pound odd, pound New Zealand too, but that's a bit risky because I think it still could run into resistance potentially. Hot Swissie looked like it had a very nice break just a few hours ago, a couple of hours, moving nicely to the downside. And the last one here is Aussie yen. And that one looks pretty funky. Nothing interesting there. Yeah, well, the only thing I'm beating myself up is with this euro odd mentally here. But oh well. I don't think it's a holiday today. I don't see it here on the Forex news. Normally they do add any particular holiday day on this list, so it would definitely be visible here. I don't see any. We do have payment count change, right? Don't forget in 20 minutes. Well, I see many, but they're not happening right now, right? I just went through the list. I see the Aussie I'm interested in. I see the yen, the euro potentially, and the pound. Pound yen, break of this blue line. Euro yen, if it really pushes through and retraces, but that's a bit further away from now. I just went through it. The euro CAD, bit bigger trend line here at the tops. That's a bit difficult to trade. The pound, especially if it were to move to the upside here into resistance. Dollar CAD, maybe if it breaks this trend line here. Did it at 618 fib, didn't it? So that could be an interesting break on this dollar CAD. All right, we had a strong move down. We had a correction up, or so it seems. If we break down from here, it could be a good trade to the downside. Just like this euro odd break to the upside, right? Remember last week when, let's see, I think it was, where was it? We were looking at the euro odd in here. Remember I had a call on Thursday and I said that break of this correction, it looks like a great trade to the 272 target. I don't know if anyone took that one, but it was really a good one here. Break of this, that was last week Thursday. If there's any trade I recommend, it was right in here. Remember, up to this target was beauty. Up, 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 bang, even continue to the 618 for a 300 pip move. That was really a nice one. I hope someone caught that because that was really, you don't need many of those trades in a month to really do well. It was a small 15-minute trade here. Break of that fractal right in here. What is the entry? Stop loss. And boom. Target. Boom. Target. Right to the targets. Really sweet. Well, that was last week Thursday. I didn't take that one, as you know, because I went back to bed with fever, but I sure was happy when I woke up later that day to see that target hit. That was really cool. Alrighty, that's basically what I'll be looking for today. If you have any questions, let me know. We'll take a look at that still before we close. Otherwise, do be careful with the pound, right? That's really getting very close from now. It's 50 minutes from now. Euro is pushing forward. So looks like that small retrace when I was saying probably no need to be scared or fearful of that was right in here. Well, it seems to be true because we're getting a push up. So it does seem like that. As I said, I probably won't catch it because I had some doubts, but looks like 382 and this candlestick pattern will send this thing higher. I wasn't as excited about it yesterday. Yesterday I really liked the potential. Still like the potential, would have liked it only a bit deeper somehow. Let's see how far this euro dollar can push up. The euro dollar, of course, will also be affected by that news event a bit. Not as much as the pound, but it could see an exaggeration to the upside or a spike maybe to the downside. Spike to the downside could find support. Could be still a good way of entering maybe. But so be careful of that in any case. All right. So I thank you all for your attention. I don't see any questions, so hopefully all is clear. Let's see. Hopefully catch some good trades today. Let me take a look at I think the euro pound is the only thing I didn't look at. I don't know. Nothing interesting at the moment for me, at least. I don't see anything spectacular there. Okay. So that rounds it up. Thanks, Bogdan. Have a great day, and I wish you all a great trading day. I hope you catch a lot of pips. Don't forget, you only need, if you do it properly, you really only need a couple of good trades to make a good R2R, all right? But I hope we do catch a good trade tomorrow in our session as well. I hope to see you tomorrow, the 18th of July on Thursday. Don't forget that Thursday evening we'll talk about indicators with Tarantula at 6 p.m. as well, okay? Cheers, everyone.